Hi, I'm Justin.M.Murphy, and I have the honor of running for the Republican nomination for New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District. I want to go to Washington for many reasons. Number one, I want to promote policies that put people back to work. I want to secure our border. I want to see English as our official language. I'd like to close the IRS and have a flat tax for Americans so we're more competitive globally. I want to develop all of our sources of energy so we're truly a superpower in that we're energy independent, solving most of our economic problems by focusing on the resources we have right here at home, creating jobs here at home instead of sending them overseas. I'm pro-life. I believe life begins at conception, and I carry the banner that marriage is defined as the union between one single man and one single woman. And finally, I want to make sure that the Republican Party has open and competitive primaries so we can nominate people and candidates like myself that want to make sure the Republican Party rededicates itself to the Reagan principles that made us the majority party starting in 1980. God bless.
Yeah, good.
Recently, a U.S. citizen, Faisal Shahzad, was arrested and charged with the terrorism that failed in the Times Square bombing. Should that man have been read Miranda rights?
No. Even though he's a U.S. citizen, when you perpetrate an act of war on this country, as far as I'm concerned, you have forfeited your constitutional rights. Never should we ever entertain the idea of affording constitutional rights to foreign-born terrorists that seek to do much harm to the United States, murder our citizens, destroy our economy. I believe that we have a law enforcement to deal with criminal matters, and we have a military to deal with a war. The war on terror is a war on terror. It's not an overseas global contingency operation. It's not a domestic criminal law enforcement matter. It is a war on terror, and it needs to be handled as such.
Thank you. What about your stance on veterans issues?
Well, I was fortunate and honored to do in 2008 when I ran for this seat to dedicate my campaign to the men and women of the armed forces. I believe they do so much for us. There's really nothing we could ever do to repay them and the families and the strain that they're under. Most of our veterans now in Iraq and Afghanistan are going back for 2 and 3 tours. Okay, that's the type of commitment they have to the security of this country. We need to show them the same reciprocation. We hopefully have a debate coming up with the Veterans for Education group here in early June before the primary, and it's very specifically setting forth what myself and my opponent, if he decides to show up, would like to do for veterans. I believe, one, that we need to extend the GI Bill and make sure that they have the access to education when they come home. I also like the idea of Governor Mike Huckabee of giving a card to returning service members as a point-of-service medical health insurance card where they can go anywhere they want in the country to get medical insurance, not just be limited to the VA.
Good. I have a question for you. Your opponent is Jon Runyan, a former Philadelphia Eagle. Has great name recognition. Why won't he debate you?
I don't know. I do know he's been recruited by the party bosses. They tend to want to control. I believe as someone who's a newcomer to politics like John, he probably needs that type of structure and coaching. But it's a dangerous strategy for him because if you're an incumbent, you can afford to not debate. People are curious about John. He's a newcomer to this, and he needs to make himself available to people. He should step on a debate stage with me so we can contrast ourselves with the voter on June 8th. I think he has a responsibility to do that. Other than that, I really don't know why he won't, other than it's probably coming from his political handlers, from the machines.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
You're welcome.
For the flat tax.
Yes.
If you got to Congress and there seemed to be a swell toward the fair tax, could you be persuaded to kind of go along with that one?
I have an open mind. I would certainly entertain all debates and arguments. I'll even entertain the national sales tax if it's in conjunction with repealing the current income tax code. Obama wants to have both. Not going to work.
Okay, good.
All ideas on the table. I do favor the flat tax, but I have an open mind for all.
And again, you said you favored the flat tax because you thought there was no way they could manipulate it later?
I think when you have a 15 to 10% rate and you simplify the system.
By the way, I like 9.
Maybe 9.7. I also believe in we can have amendments to our Constitution that require 2/3 majority to raise taxes. I certainly support that. Caps on government spending, balanced budget amendment. But I think once you get the American people hooked on that simplicity and that much bigger infusion with their income, it's going to be very difficult politically for someone to undo that.
Now your flat tax would include corporate tax, capital gains, everything, any kind of income?
Abolish capital gains.
Oh, okay.
Abolish the AMT. Abolish all estate death taxes. Replace it with a flat income tax.
How about corporate write-offs and write-offs for individuals?
Well, what would happen?
Flat tax just come out flat on your income and that's it?
Would there
No
be any
write-offs?
exceptions like for donations, for charitable things?
What would happen? We would get rid of everything. However, we would replace it with a very large and generous deduction. It would start at $36,000 for a married couple. It would be then indexed to inflation and $5,000 for each child. So in other words, if you're a family of four and you're making $70,000 a year, your first $46,000 of income are federal income tax free. You'd only pay the 10% on the difference between $47,000 and $70,000.
Now, I'll tell you, the only reason why that I favor the fair tax above flat tax is because I believe that under the fair tax, everybody has a stake in the country. Everybody.
Absolutely. And with the flat tax also, because
Well, you
no
just
one.
said that the first 36,000, you don't have a stake.
Right, but I mean, if we have lower level income, okay, now that's as a married couple, income earners would have a flat tax. We would probably take the number of 47% not paying and greatly diminish it. I mean, probably almost completely.
That's the first time I saw you tonight, and I think you did a great job.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
You look like a real nice candidate.
All right, well,
I
let's
wish you
hope.
a lot of luck down there. Oh, you know what we're doing up in our, I don't even know, but what we're doing up in